Hello all the board game manias. This video is for introducing the overall playview, so this is only for the simple reference. Since I am not a native speaker, please understand my pronunciation or grammatic problems. So let's begin. Now I'm going to introduce some of the components in the game. First, I will going to tell you about the baseland. There is front side and the back side of the baseland. At the first side, you can see the L icon. It stands for Liberty Mode. All the players have different status for the game. In the back side, you can see the Equality Mode. All the players have the same status for the game. For example, if you start the game with the Equality Mode, the initial outputs can be 1 cultural point, 1 political point, 1 economical point, 1 military force, 1 transport force, and 1 food industry point. Since there is no mineral industry icon, so it stands for 0 status. If you want to know other details from the component, you can easily take the rulebook from the website. Now I'm going to tell you about the game instructions. The game consists of 3 ages, and each age consists of 5 rounds. And each round, we have 5 phases, the 5 steps of the game. In the first step, we have auction and patching land cards. In the second step, we have diplomacy and domestic actions, we call it management. At the third step, we will transport the workers, the transporting worker step or the movement step. And the fourth, we will going to have a negotiation with each others and have a war in this phase. And the 5th step, we will going to produce and maintain the worker. This is called the production and worker maintenance. Additionally, we will do 2 more steps at the end of the 5th round. First, it is Heroes and Wonders maintenance, and the last step is vote and the age ends. Now we will going to tell you about the auction step. In the game Patchistory, we will use both sides of the land cards. First, shuffles the cards and flip over 1 from the deck. In the 4-player game, you have to flip 4 cards in the table. First, if you flip the card, the black arrow icon cards, the next card should be the white arrow icon cards. The cards should be placed facing opposite icon of the former cards. For example, if you flip first card as a black icon card, the next should be white arrow icon, black arrow icon, and the last card should be white arrow icon. In the auction, he must decide one of the cards, and he cannot divide the money into multiple cards. He only has to decide 1 card to bid on. For example, the first player bid on this card, second player bid on this card, the third player bid on this card, and the last player bid on this card. In this situation, more than 1 player, 2 players is bidding on the same card. If you are not the highest bidder on the card, you can decide 3 actions. First, if you want to be the highest bidder on this card, you can easily put more money on the card. Second, if you cannot afford the card, you can move the money into other cards. But in this step, you cannot restore any coins into your properties, and you have to use all the monies on other cards. Additionally, you can put more money on the cards if you are moving the money on the other cards. After the auction is done, all players take the money into the bank and take the cards into their properties. After you obtain a land card from the auction, we will proceed to the patching land card step. You have to follow some instructions to patch the land card. Basically, you cannot rotate the land cards. You have to place only in the straight direction. Second, you can place the land cards under or on the baseland, but you must overlap at least one room on each card. You cannot place the card like this one. You only have to place this or any side you want. You have to overlap at least one room. And there is one more rule. For example, some of the architectures twice the normal size of the rooms, you cannot cut it. You cannot cut under overlapping the cards. You have to save all the rooms on the card. In the land cards, you can see the water terrain. The water terrain has some special rules. First, water cannot be overlapped under other cards, even a baseland. You have to place the water terrain on the card. And then, if you want to place another card, you have to avoid another water terrain. Even a water terrain cannot be overlapped on it. This is avoidable. You have to place cards like this one. After you patch a land card, you have to modify your status markers. For example, you lost one industry for food, so you reduce one of the point of the food point. You get additional +1 culture point and +1 political point, so you modify your markers +1 to culture point and +1 to political points. When you patch a land card, the maximum size of the kingdom is limited. For example, in the first era, you have to place your kingdom size as 5 by 5. So, for example, if you place the land card on here, your limit size is over. So, this card cannot be placed on this here. Like this, in the second era, you have to place the land card 6 by 6 and third era 7 by 7. Each player is given 3 amount of money in the beginning of the game. So, in order to ensure the fairness, the starting first round's auction rule is different. The starting player flip over one card from a deck, and he chooses whether he will bid on this card or not. After his decision, the next player flip over one more card and decide he will bid on one of these cards or he will not. The next player also proceeds the same action. He will decide whether he will going to bid on one of these cards or not. After the fourth player, he have to proceed the normal auction. After all of these rounds, other auctions is keeping in the normal situation. After the step auction and patching land cards is done, the next diplomacy and domestic politics begins. In this step, players may take political actions with their political points. This step consists of diplomacy action and domestic politic actions. The diplomacy action begins with the starting player and proceeds clockwise. The first player decides whether he will play diplomatic action or not. The same goes on other players. After all the decision on diplomatic action is done, players simultaneously proceed the domestic politics action. In this political status, This violent marker represents the political force you can use during the round. It is restored each round. For example, in diplomacy action, if you want to use aid and if you want to use trade on domestic political action, you require 3 political actions. After all players done the political steps, they move on to the next step, transporting workers. There is 2 kinds of movement on this step. One is the movement in the kingdom and movement in the trade routes. First, in the kingdom. When you transport workers within the kingdom, each worker may move to the room right next to the standing spot. 1 transport force is needed to require 1 step, and this transport force is applied to all workers even on the trade routes. For example, if you have 2 transport force, you can use 2 steps on each workers. When transporting workers within the kingdom, 1 transport force is required to move 1 step. Rooms of heroes and wonders and special architectures is considered more than Rooms of heroes and wonders special architectures are considered as 1 room. You may move the worker to any possible room, including the water room. However, if the final destination has no activity box, there is no advantage expected. But if the worker is on the activity box, some special advantages on the activity box is applied to your status. Only 1 worker is allowed on each room. You may not move the worker diagonally, and you may also choose not to move a worker at all. When you transport workers on the trade route, you should use more than 1, but less than the total transport force you possess. If there is no worker on the negotiation room, the worker may move to the rest room. The worker will be sent back to the baseland on the next turn, the next round. When you reach the negotiation room, you should stop the transport no matter how much transport force is left. After every player took turns on the transport, check if there are any workers on the negotiation room or the war room. If there are any, continue the game with the negotiation step. When there is a player with a worker on the negotiation room, these 2 players should raise their thumb to indicate the intention to a war or an ally. First, when 2 thumbs are up, if 2 kingdoms both selected 2 thumbs up, 2 kingdoms will not go into a war. Additionally, the 2 kingdoms will decide on whether or not they will ally with each other. If they decided to forge an alliance, the 2 kingdoms is now owning a trade route in between 2 kingdoms. This symbolizes the alliance between 2 players. They will not be a threat to each other unless the alliance is renounced. Regardless of an alliance, when the negotiation ends, the worker is moved back to its baseland. Second, when 1 or 2 thumbs are down, if any player chooses their thumb down, a war is declared. Kingdoms with the thumbs down will be the invaders, and the kingdom with the thumbs up will be the defenders. The invaders must pay the following amount of warfare expense. Automatically, the kingdom with thumbs up will be the defender, and they will not going to pay any warfare expense. Stand by till the next round transporting worker step. If the former round they choose to have a war, the worker proceeds to the war room. Check the military force of the players and begin the war. The invader now have 6 military points, and the defenders now have 4 military points. But additionally, the defenders can have shield bonuses. This shield mark only applies to defenders, and it also counts as the military point. So now he have 4 plus 1, so he have 5 military points. Each player takes a certain amount of minerals that will add up the military points, and simultaneously all the players reveal the amounts in their hands. You may gain 1 military points for 1 mineral. After reveal all the minerals, calculate the total military force with the numbers of the sword and the numbers of the minerals. Player with the highest military force is the winner. If there is a tie, the defender side wins. In case of a war between 2 invaders, and if there is a tie, both players defeated the war. All the minerals used as a military force should be disposed. If any player who wins the war get a victory point from the public storage. But additional bonus, if there is 5 or more difference on the military force between 2 kingdoms, the winner gains extra reward from the losers. The winner takes bonus points from the enemy. Regardless of the war result, the worker on the war room is removed back to the baseland. After the war pays, now we are going to have a production and maintenance of workers' pays. This step is when you obtain the resource from the territory and the trade routes from the public storage. Check the production state of the general and special architectures, heroes and wonders on your baseland and kingdom. After you check all the icons on your status, obtain the resource from the public storage. For example, you can get 1 food, 1 mineral, 2 victory points, and 4 money. Additionally, you can also get some of the resources from the trade routes. In this year, we can get 2 food from the trade routes. After this step is done, you have to pay the maintenance of workers. Pay the highest amount on the descendant section. As you can see, you have to pay 3 food to the public storage. After you pay the maintenance of the worker, you have to think about whether it was the last round or not. If it was the last round, the 5th round, there is additional 2 steps for the game. First, it is the maintenance of heroes and wonders. Each player pay 2 foods for a hero and 1 mineral per wonder. For example, he owns 2 heroes and 1 wonders, so he have to pay 4 foods and 1 mineral. This is the last step of the era. Each player may obtain victory points from the public bank with the prosperity cards. Every player chooses 1 prosperity card and place it on the center, face down and secret to other players. When all players has their cards on the center, shuffles the card and reveal the card one by one. Starting from the first card, the vote begins. Players hold the amount of votes they want to vote on the first card in their hand. They reveal it simultaneously and place the votes on the first card. The rule is same with the rest of the cards. After the vote, check the result of the vote count. The card with the least vote is ruled out from the calculation. Each player may obtain points from the public storage according to this vote on the cards and the ranking from each player. For example, in a 4-player game, the winner on each card obtains 1 point per vote. The second place winner obtains 1 point per 2 votes, and the third place winner obtains nothing. The last player should pay the public storage 1 point per 2 votes. Restore the used votes back to the public storage and pile the used prosperity card on the disposed card deck. This is the end of an era. Each player gets points from heroes and wonders that are relevant to the end of an age. And the end of an era, first and second, put the leftover cards away and prepare the next era's 25 land cards. Game ends after playing all 3 eras. Without the heroes and wonders, the resources cannot be added up as points. The player wins the highest score win the game. This is the end of the video. In the SM Fair, since we are a small company, we are lack of gameplay tables on our booth. Please understand and experience this new game. I hope you enjoy this. Have a nice day. Bye.